The title is right at the top, and now this tiny squirrel is looking up with watery eyes, asking with a shaky voice if she can really save its mom. The girl is just sitting there with a massive, ancient wolf guarding her, and she calmly says the medicine is working so her mom will wake up soon. But then a second passes, and just like she said, the little squirrel wakes up totally confused, so the boy hugs his mom and cries tears of joy, thanking the heavens as they both look up at the sky. He tells her she's amazing, and she just beams at him with a super warm, glowing smile. Whenever people call her a literal goddess, she just laughs it off and shakes her head, saying she's really not that big of a deal. Meet Luna Lothariel, the only daughter of Duke Lothariel from the Kingdom of Faerine, a land that's actually protected by the goddess Siren herself. Believe it or not, this 5-year-old girl just remembered her past life as a tired 30-year-old vet named Shirori. And staring into the mirror, she's totally freaked out that this kid's face is actually hers now. Something is totally off, but as she tries to remember, it all hits her at once. Work was super chill. She'd just finished with her favorite patient, and she was vibing on her way home to play games when a truck suddenly ended it all. A truck pulls up, and boom! The door swings open and her parents walk in, with her mom asking if she's awake and how she's doing while she gives her a reply. She blurts out that she's totally fine, and her mom nods, relieved her fever is finally gone since she's been asleep for 2 whole days. She watches them talk, and they seem so nice and weirdly familiar, but she knows for a fact these aren't the parents she remembers. This place is definitely not Tokyo, and her mom suddenly brings over a book that just arrived this morning, so Shirori cracks it open. She stops right there, staring at page after page of crazy creatures that don't belong in any world she's ever seen. Her mom just acts totally chill, saying she thought it was just a basic picture book about birds and animals from the forest nearby. Shirori stays silent because she was a vet in her past life and knows animals inside out, but she's never seen these creatures before, and the writing on the page isn't even Japanese or English. She doesn't know English either, and even though everything looks totally new, it all just clicks in her head. She's definitely not in her own world anymore. Her mom just laughs and tells her dad that the book even talks about legendary holy beasts and scary demons. Shirori's totally tuned out, flipping through the pages with her heart racing because she's so obsessed with these animals that she wants to meet them all right now. So she really just wants to keep being a vet. But it looks like she's never going back to her old world. She lucked out with a super happy family and the best parents. And now she spends her days hugging every fluffy creature she finds in this new world. 11 years later, the prince points right at her with a smirking girl on his arm, announcing their engagement is totally over and she's officially kicked out of the country. Classic move. She just stands there looking totally heartbroken, playing the tragic victim perfectly. Then, Luna asks in this tiny, confused voice why he's being so mean and if she's guilty of every single crime, acting like she's better than everyone just because her dad's a duke, using her engagement to boss people around. And worst of all, now the villain starts playing the victim card, blinking all innocent and swearing she'd never take advantage of Gerald Sama's love. Her voice is sugary sweet, but she's claiming she'll wreck the whole kingdom if she becomes queen, making Luna totally freak out because she never said any of that The crowd starts whispering, wondering if she's just faking it. And maybe Gerald and Isabel were actually right about her being a total bully, since everyone is fed up with Luna bossing. He's acting super cocky, claiming he's carrying the weight of the whole country on his back, and he tells her she's not on his level and needs to get out right now. All that anger in his voice just vanishes the second he looks at the girl clinging to him, and his face turns super soft as he pulls her in close, and then, suddenly, it all clicks for Luna and she freezes in shock, realizing Isabel was just playing Gerald like a puppet because she wanted to be him. She was always glued to the prince's side at school, but she knows she only wants what belongs to someone else. She agrees to leave the country for good as long as he leaves her family alone, and the prince mutters, "Fine," promising that if she vanishes, her household will be totally safe. She slaps on a fake sweet smile and says thanks, knowing her bags will be waiting for her at home, and she's officially decided she never wants to see this guy's face. She gets back home and snatches up her bags, feeling totally fed up with everything. Her dad asks if she's really heading out by herself and offers to send some guards, but she turns him down since anyone who goes with her would be kicked out of the country for good too. Her mom is looking totally stressed because even for a prince, this is way too much for someone who's done nothing wrong, but Shirori just smiles and tells her not to cry because, whatever, she's always wanted to travel the world anyway, for real. Honestly, she's just relieved she doesn't have to marry that guy anymore. Ever since the news broke, the whole crown princess thing has been totally suffocating her. Her Her dad looks totally stressed because this whole situation is super sketchy, but he swears he'll do everything to fix the verdict while her mom hugs her and tells her to stay safe. Shirori stands right next to her massive wolf and tells him she's totally counting on him. Her dad just gives her a big grin. It's like he knows exactly what she's thinking. Her mom chimes in, saying she always knew those two were on the same wavelength. Shori just smirks because she's been right this whole time. And even though she can literally talk to animals, her mom thinks she's just being a total kid. They might think she's lying, but things have been dead serious ever since. Ever since she got her past life memories back, she's been packing some seriously cool powers. She's got special powers, like literally talking to animals, and this wolf starts complaining that the prince is a total moron for kicking Luna out. She just shrugs because there's no changing the past, and honestly, she's actually glad her engagement is finally over. Even the wolf grumbles about hating the guy, but hey, she hasn't met a single person in this world who can talk to animals, so she's sure it's a special power just for reincarnated people. And then the wolf asks her. She thinks for a second and says she's been dying to check out the kingdom of Eddie Fan, which is just east of Fairy. Eddie asks about the place and she tells him it's full of beastmen, basically humans with animal ears and tails. And she's literally dreamed of going there her whole life. Back in her old world, beastmen were just fairy tales. But as a total animal lover, she's got to meet them all, and when that wolf flashes a grin, you just know this is about to be a blast. A ton of crazy stuff has happened, but since they're on this trip, they might as well have the best time ever. Plus, she's super hyped to find all the cute, fluffy animals hiding in this forest. Her eyes are literally glowing, and she's basically drooling because she can't stand being away from him for another second. So she tells him to move it and hops on his back as they're holding on tight when they suddenly find a glowing lake. And just as she's looking at how beautiful it is, she stops cold because something catches her eye. She tells him to hold up as her ears twitch, catching the sound of someone crying in the distance. He points and shouts that it's coming from right over there, so they start following the noise to see what's going on. They stumble into a clearing and find a tiny white-eared squirrel crying her heart out, desperately begging her mom to wake up. Seeing this totally breaks her heart, so she immediately asks the little squirrel what happened. Squirrel screams that her mom is sick, and her eyes go wide when she sees weird red spots all over the mother's body, so she kneels down to take a look as her instincts kick in. It hits them right away, and only white squirrels can catch this weird sickness. Luckily, she's actually got some medicine in her bag to help with the swelling. The little squirrel is shaking as she says her mom's pain has been getting way worse all week, asking if she's going to die, but she just shakes her head and promises with that medical book her dad bought her, she knows exactly what to do, and this medicine is going to cure her mom's sickness fast. Mama Squirrel finally opens her eyes and looks around. She's barely holding on, but then she spots it. Check it out, those red spots are already disappearing thanks to the medicine. Madison is busy grinding at work and she's got to stay focused. She's going to be back to normal in no time, and the little squirrel starts cheering and calling her a total legend just like a saintess, and then it adds that people pass through these woods all the time, but she's never actually gotten to talk to them until now. She says it's a total relief they caught the sickness early, and if it ever comes back, all mom needs is a bite of Corinna's cooking. The squirrel mom asks for her name and introduces herself as Mel and her daughter as Rin, so they finally get to know each other properly. Mel's impressed by how much she knows about medicine, and she just smiles because it's basically a habit from her past life. Ever since she got her memories back, out of nowhere, the little squirrel says she wants to give them a gift to show her thanks. Out of nowhere, she scrambles up the tree and chucks the treasure right into Luna's hands, and Luna grabs it. She gasps in total shock at how it sparkles in the sun, and when she asks if it's really hers, the squirrel proudly says, "Of course, because she's the one who saved his mom." Her face lights up with a massive grin. Her eyes start sparkling, and she says she's going to keep that thing forever, but then the mom starts squirming. Then Squirtle pipes up and says she's got something to give too. Luna just giggles and tells her not to sweat it, but the squirrel shakes her head like crazy because she's not letting this go. She knows she'd be totally cooked if she stops for a second, her eyes lighting up with a big idea. What if she introduces her to every animal in the woods? She's obsessed with anything fluffy and wants to be besties with everyone, so she says, heck yeah. But then decides they should probably start with Baron Sama first. She says he's a massive beast and the king of the forest, and since everyone loves him, she's going to run to his rocky hangout and bring him back in a flash. Luna's blushing like crazy and giggling, her eyes totally sparkling as she gets hyped to meet the king of the forest. She's already picturing this massive, fluffy beast looking super cool and proud, and her heart is pounding just wondering what kind of animal he actually is. She's super hyped to meet him, but the giant beast just glares with those sharp eyes and mocks her for actually wanting to be friends. He's totally mocking her while she stands there frozen solid, and then he tells her straight up that he'd never be friends with a human and she better stay in her lane. That's the massive demon boar. She's seen it in books before, but she never thought it would be this huge. This must be Baron Sama, the king of this. She's wandering the woods, super hyped to find a cute, fluffy animal, but she never expected to get totally shut down when she begs him to be friends and he just growls a big fat no. But then Mel steps in and tells him that Luna actually saved her life, so she's totally on their side. The big guy just shakes his giant head, basically saying he's got is. She looks around at all the sheep rabbits and white-haired monkeys camped out in their tents looking totally on edge like they've never seen a human before. When suddenly, she whips her head back to him, her heart skipping a beat as she runs over to see if he's okay, but he just grunts and waves her off like it's no big deal. Luna isn't backing down and begs to help with his injuries, but he shuts her down instantly, yelling that he'll never trust a human and she needs to get out of his forest right now. She flinches at how harsh he's being, but she still finds the guts to whisper and ask if he really hates humans that much. He snaps back that humans are way too selfish and stuck in their own heads to ever understand what she's actually thinking. Sylvan's voice cuts through the noise as he stands his ground, telling everyone that Luna just isn't that kind of person. Everyone's eyes are glued to him as he tells the story of how he was once totally wrecked, and Luna was the only one who actually stepped up to help. Even after finding out he's a legendary holy beast, she never cared about a reward and just kept treating him like a normal friend. But the beast refuses to back down, yelling that no matter what is said, he's not changing his mind. And then, out of nowhere, he gets super dizzy and starts to stumble. Luna's heart totally drops. She sprints to his side, frantically asking if he's okay. She kneels down too. She can't just leave him like this, so she tells him the wound is deep but not to worry because she can fix him up. And he finally takes a breath. He's breathing hard and tells her that even if she fixes this, it's not going to be enough. Humans were the ones who hurt him, so there's no way he's letting another person help him heal. She's totally shocked and blurts out that these rare demonic beasts are super rare and need to be protected. But then a tiny white-haired monkey steps forward with his head down and explains it was, giant boar tusks are worth a fortune, so poachers are always hunting Baron. But he's a total beast and this wound only happened because a whole squad of them came back for She asks who he is, and he tells her he's a local who sees poachers around here all the time. They just keep yapping away without realizing he understands every word, so now he knows exactly what's going down. Jean reveals that a prince from the next kingdom over sent these guys to find the biggest tusks for a wedding present, but they're super late. They were super hyped and literally shaking with greed, totally sure they were about to get filthy rich. Sylvain shoots her a look and asks what she thinks about the neighboring kingdom. The prince of this country is Gerald, and she just gives a quick nod. Her stomach is tied in knots because she's sure it's him. They're in Eddie Fan territory, and he's the only guy from the next country over who'd be dumb enough to give an order like that. Ho Chiang is totally illegal in Farron too, but she's heard that people are still secretly trading furniture and gear made from their tusks and fur on the down low. I can't believe the Crown Prince actually broke the law, especially since Furine and Eddie Fan are allies, because if Eddie Fan finds out, if the king finds out the Furine Prince was poaching an Eddie Fan, he's gonna lose it, and any peace between these two countries is basically dead. He muttered under his breath, "What is that idiot prince even thinking?" He was so pathetic he couldn't even handle some poachers, and now even that massive beast is actually teaming up with them. Luna and Sylvain stop dead, their hearts racing as they wonder what he means by that beast. Luna picks up on Sharpen's presence, and even the wolf's ears twitch as a warning. He steps in front of her to keep her safe, calling her name in a low, serious. He feels it too. Someone's definitely coming, and then he spots that rabbit face. Everyone's faces go totally white as the beast sniffs the air and growls, thinking these hunters are absolute idiots for coming back and not giving up yet. The squirrels are huddling together while Rin screams for her mom in total terror. The rabbits are all freaking out and whispering about what's going to happen next, and the little monkey just looks super bummed out. They were shaking with fear and just wanted to bolt, but he's struggling just to stand up, and even though the rabbits told him he's in no shape to fight, he lifts his head high because he's the king of this forest. And if he doesn't step up to protect them, nobody will. Luna steps up with total confidence, making it clear that if he's going to fight, she's got his back with her crazy instant healing. But then Baron starts. She starts saying there's no way, but Sylvain growls that she can do it and he has to believe in her, as the beast. All the animals join forces and shout at Baron to just accept her help already. They need her to patch him up and give him a massive power boost. They're backing him up to make sure they finally crush those poachers, and Baron is leading the charge. Baron clenches his jaw but finally gives in, letting her treat his injury. Luna is super relieved and starts to smile, but her brain is actually going a mile a minute. See? GK was an RPG with all sorts of skills, and she isn't sure if it's because she played way too much or if it's a cheat, but now she can use every single attack, heal, and shield move she knew from the game. Suddenly, a crazy light starts glowing right where he got hit. It snaps shut in a flash and the rabbits gasp when they see even the swelling is totally gone. Talk about a shocker. This is basically straight up magic. This power won't fix a sickness like Mel's, but it's perfect for a deep cut. And honestly, no matter how much Baron wants to be the hero, he wasn't going to last another second in that fight with an injury so bad. She asks if he can stand, and he slowly pulls himself up to see if he's still good to go. He gathers his strength and tells her he owes her big time. But Luna just smiles and says she's just happy he's okay. So now he needs to lock in and stop the invasion. Sylvan says they're helping out, and since her detection skill is always on, she knows the intruders are super close. Suddenly, 2 humans and a beast show up, and even she triggers her blessing skill just to be safe. And that's when Baron asks. He demands to know what this insane power is as his body starts to freak out. His body feels lighter and stronger than ever, totally overflowing with power. But before anyone can react, Sylvan screams a warning to look ahead as a massive 2-headed hound bursts from the trees and lunges straight for them. Baron jumps into action immediately, diving in front of Luna and yelling for her to watch out as he snatches the monster right out of the air and tosses it aside while it lets out a massive... The beast slams into a tree with a massive crash, looking totally stunned because there's no way that wound should be healed already. Everyone thought Baron was totally drained, but the beast actually looks stronger than ever. How is that even possible? Baron stands up tall and brags that he hates to admit it, but he's got a super reliable goddess on his side now. Luna's honestly so hyped that her blessing skill boosts every single stat at once. It's actually working, but then out of nowhere, one guy aims his bow right at her, while Sylvan lunges at another dude. He slams the guy into the dirt, and Luna doesn't waste a second, summoning her magic bow and firing first while making it clear that nobody touches her friends. The guy grabs his busted hand, looks at her in total shock, and demands to know who she really is. Her holy arrow doesn't pack a huge punch, but it never misses, and she tells him she never actually expected to use her attack skills like this. Illegal hunting is a massive crime, so she's turning them in to the guards while making sure Gerald's name stays clean, because there's no way she's letting this slide. Sylvan just grabs the guy by the collar with his teeth, dangling him like a wolf carrying a pup. He's not even breaking a sweat and looks way more annoyed than anything as he warns Luna that another group is heading their way, and they look way too relaxed about it. Luna asks if they're with the poachers, but Sylvan shakes his head, saying they don't smell like those muddy creeps at all, and actually have a pretty nice scent. A group of people is heading right for them, and Luna stops, thinking that if they aren't enemies, this might actually be a good thing. It's definitely smarter to show them some respect, but then a voice suddenly shouts through the trees, asking what the heck is going on. Luna stops dead and slowly turns toward the noise, but the moment she sees them, she literally forgets how to breathe as her eyes go wide, her face turns beet red, and she starts drooling because, suddenly, a terrifying roar rips through the air as the holy beast asks if this is some kind of sick joke. He looms over the altar while the prince and his girl tremble on the floor. The prince freezes up and starts panicking, shouting that the beast is totally wrong and that Luna is actually a monster who bullied a sweet girl named Isabel. And then he drops the news that Isabel is officially his new fiancée, and the holy beast just listens in total silence until his eyes get super intense, and he finally starts to speak. Isabel snaps at the prince to shut his mouth, making it clear she won't let him say one more mean thing about Luna. Isabel looks down with her hands shaking, realizing the country's holy beast is way more terrifying than she ever imagined. The beast drops a massive truth bomb they totally missed. It turns out Luna actually saved his son Sylvan a long time ago. He only let a fake guy like the prince be her. The beast knows it's the truth. Even after Luna found out Sylvan was a legendary holy beast, she didn't ask for a reward or start acting fake. She just treated his son. They're barely even fighting when suddenly the holy beast's paw slams down, crushing the prince into the floor and making the whole temple gasp in shock. Isabel starts screaming and begging for mercy, but she swears kicking Luna out was totally his idea and she had nothing to do with it. The prince is completely shocked and screams that he was just doing what Isabel told him to do. She shuts him down. The queen rushes forward and begs the monster to forgive her reckless son, while the king pleads just to spare his life, swearing they'll bring Luna back right now. But the beast finally gives in and gives them one last shot, demanding they find Luna, get on their knees, and beg for her forgiveness. Then he looks straight at Isabel and says he tells them they're both to blame for Luna getting kicked out and asks if they'd rather be hunted by his claws instead, making Isabel freeze and bow her head as she quickly says she gets it. The holy beast makes it clear that he's expecting some major results. Just like that, a crazy bright light explodes all around them. Raw energy starts squeezing their bodies tight. The monster growls that this glow is proof they're officially bound to him now. Outside the temple, the prince loses it and slams his fist into the wall, screaming in pure rage because even being the crown prince doesn't change the fact that he's powerless. He's still feeling totally humiliated, but Isabel just rolls her eyes and tells him to stop crying over nothing since he's lucky he didn't get kicked out or lose his rank. She almost smirks and calls him a total idiot, telling him it's his own fault for falling for her as she just shrugs it off. She just shrugs and tells him he's useless now that he's not the prince, and there's no way she's ever bowing to Luna, so she'll find her. She's already got a plan, and her smirk grows as she asks why she'd ever tell a total loser like him anything. He totally loses it and screams at her to repeat what she just said, but Isabel doesn't even flinch. Isabel storms off without looking back, her face twisting in pure rage because she's suffering all because of Luna, and she swears right then and there that she's going to make her pay. Luna is just standing there, totally frozen, her face turning bright red because she never thought she'd see Beastman alive again. Wait, a blue wolf with no tail? Even for Beastmen, that's super rare, and she says her name's Luna, and she suddenly asks them what they're even doing there. Suddenly, he locks eyes with her, yanks her close without warning, and tells her she's busted because he never thought he'd catch a girl working with a bunch of poachers. Luna trips backwards, swearing they've got it all wrong, but he just shuts her down and says they'll deal with her excuses later. Aloha! Suddenly, a scary growl echoes right next to her. Sylvan jumps in the middle and shoves the guy back, yelling at him to let her go right now. The monkey charges forward too. Suddenly, these rabbits hop forward and start slapping him right in the face with their tiny paws. He's totally livid and yells to know what they think they're doing, but then another beastman. He steps in and tells Alex he knows she's not a poacher because the animals are just chilling with her instead of wrecking her like those two knocked-out guys nearby. The rabbits start getting super hyped and agree with her because she actually fought off the poachers to save them. Alex is looking totally annoyed since he can't understand their squeaks, and hearing that Alex just stares her down with a totally blank face before finally telling her she's super weird and asking what kind of crazy stuff she's even talking about. That's the final straw, and Luna totally snaps inside because this guy is being so incredibly rude and she absolutely hates people like him. Like, what is actually wrong with this dude? He notices Luke's shoulders shaking and spins around, demanding to know what's so funny. Luke snaps to attention and apologizes, saying he's just totally shocked because literally everyone loves Prince Alexander. Luna's face goes totally white the second she sees Prince Alexander, and Luke quickly steps in to apologize. He says sorry for the wait, introduces himself as Luke, and points to Prince Alexander right next to him, explaining they're actually investigating a major incident. Luna's totally clueless and asks what incident they're even talking about, but Alexander just snaps, calling her a moron for thinking they'd spill top-secret info to a total. Luna totally loses her cool and gets right in his face, demanding to know if he really just called her an idiot. She shouts that she's done talking to someone who's this rude. She steps in to back Luna up and apologizes for the prince's rudeness, which even makes Alexander hesitate before he mumbles a sorry of his own. Luna is completely stunned, staring at him. The animals rush over to her, totally freaked out and asking if these new guys are enemies too. Luna calms them down and promises they aren't bad people. She explains it's all good because they only showed up to save the forest for everyone, but there's a massive catch. Out of nowhere, they announce they're coming along, leaving Luna totally stunned while the animals start acting all restless. The rabbits are totally losing it around Luna, refusing to leave her side or go with that creepy guy, but she just kneels down with a kind smile and tells them it's all going to be okay. She tells Baron he needs to say something to them, but Baron just apologizes and tells Luna she's got to let the animals make their own choice, since she's officially one of them. She gives a small nod, realizing he's totally right, and finally comes clean. She swore she wasn't leaving a single person behind, and then she asks if the kids can tag along to Ediphalia, and Luke just smiles, saying he doesn't mind at all, and they can bring all their friends, while the prince just grumbles that they should do whatever they want. He steps up to thank Luna and tells her to look after the squad, making her give him the biggest smile ever. She tells him she's got everything under control, and he finally admits he totally misjudged her at first. But he's actually super glad they met and hopes she'll... Luna gives a huge smile and agrees, and later in the carriage, she leans in and calls him Alexander Sama. But he just gives her a blank look and thinks it's super weird. She asks what he's doing in the woods. He tells her he's investigating the incident, and then she starts wondering why she's even there or where she came from. Luna's totally stressed because she can't just admit she was the crown princess's fiancé before getting kicked out of the country, so she quickly lies and says she only moved from Faerine to Edifan to find a job. They finally reach Ethyphalia, and as Luna peeks out the window, the animals crowd around with the rabbits and squirrels totally losing it over how massive the wall is. Sylvain yells for Luna to look at something far off, and as she turns to ask what he's pointing at, her eyes lock onto it. Sylvain! Luna spots another carriage rolling down the street, and it's actually a poacher's ride. He's starting to wonder if Gerald was the one who sent these guys here too. He looks over and explains that poachers are popping up everywhere lately, so that carriage is probably just some knights who caught one. Alexander's face goes dark with rage as he mutters that even though they know who the mastermind is, they're still in a huge mess. Their hands are still tied, and Luke calmly tells Luna France that they can't do a thing without some solid proof. He's totally confused. Is someone else besides Gerald hiring these poachers? And are they so powerful that even the royal family can't touch them? Sylvain's nose suddenly twitches and he whispers that something is definitely wrong, catching a whiff of some super weird blood coming from that direction. Luna freezes, her heart skipping a beat as she asks the guys what's lurking over there, but Luke just points toward the castle gate and says they're almost there as she starts to tell. The kid smells blood nearby and thinks someone's hurt, but Alexander just mocks her for still pretending she can talk to animals until Luke shuts him up. Sensing that something big is actually going down, a bunch of guards are swarming the gate, so the prince decides they better go check it out and tells Luna to stay back. But then the rabbits suddenly They all cry out at once, voices shaking as they admit they're terrified, and Luna softly tells them she's just as scared as they are. Mulvane asks what her move is, and she admits that the blood he smelled is really starting to freak her out as she stops to think. She's sure she can help if anyone's hurt, so she tells Sylvain to stay and guard the animals while she heads out to see what's going on. She steps outside and everything suddenly feels way more intense, making her freeze in her tracks as some guy starts screaming his head off about being blocked. And her eyes go wide as she sees a wounded unicorn collapsed right by the castle gate. And then she spots that guy. The guy mumbles that he saved this beast from poachers and has been protecting it ever since, because if a unicorn dies right outside the castle, the whole herd will think the humans are the ones who killed it. Alexander is totally fuming and starts trash-talking the chancellor, but the chancellor just fires back, asking if the prince is ready to take the heat when the unicorns come looking for revenge. He claims. Luke reveals he's actually Duke Barrafield, the big-shot chancellor of Edithan, and while they're busy tracking down those poachers like she already knows, he's standing right in their way and she knows they could finally shut him down if they just had some solid proof. He's positive she recognizes this guy from their earlier talk, but she's been staying quiet because she knows Gerald is the one behind the poaching, and she's totally shocked that the chancellor. He tells her the guy is forcing the unicorn through the gates by using the fear of payback from the other unicorns, but in reality, for real, he's just trying to take down the unicorn and sell its parts for a huge payday, and he finally sees his big shot. The chancellor asks the prince to stop blocking the path and let him through with this beast, but these things are, he's in a total rush, so he just tells him it's gonna die pretty soon anyway. He's 100% sure that when those unicorns come back for blood, His Highness will step up and take them all down. Alex loses it and starts cursing him out, while Luna is totally shocked that this guy would hurt a kid just to get ahead and then try to blame Alex for everything. She wasn't having any of it and suddenly screams that she won't let this go down, convinced she can save the kid, and tells them straight up. She tells them she's going to heal the kid while Alex shouts her name. He's totally shocked and snaps at her, demanding to know why she's there and telling her to get lost because this is none of her business. She tells him straight up that she can't just walk away from someone hurting, so if he won't let her inside to help the kid, she'll just save them right then and there. Since she's a foreigner, treating people outside the gates is technically allowed, but he's still looking super stressed. Can she actually pull this off? And what happens if she totally blows? She fires back that she's not going to lose, and then she adds one more thing. That's exactly why I'm going to save him no matter what. He shuts his eyes and tells her to just go for it. The prince orders Luke to back her up. Luke doesn't even hesitate and rushes right to her side. Just like that, the chancellor just laughs, saying things are getting spicy, but he doubts a little girl can actually do anything. And if she messes up, the prince is the one taking the fall. The prince doesn't even hesitate, stepping up and telling everyone he's taking full responsibility for what happened. She walks up to the fallen unicorn, and the second she sees those nasty wounds, her face just drops. It looks absolutely brutal, and you can tell that attack was a total nightmare for him. Luke drops down next to her as she explains that some crazy hound monster definitely did this, but first, she's got to stop the bleeding. He says sorry because they're totally out of healing herbs, but she tells him she's got this even without any medicine. She's actually using her healing powers without any herbs, and Luke is completely frozen in shock. He gasps as he watches the wound heal right under her hand, and with his eyes wide in total shock, he asks. She demands to know who she is, but she just whispers a quick sorry and tells him there's no time to explain when suddenly, the unicorn's ear twitches and she whispers a soft call for her dad, asking if he's really there as she starts to break free. She freezes, her heart skipping a beat because he's finally awake, so she just grabs him in a huge hug and tells him to hang on, promising he'll see his dad. Leona introduces herself and softly asks for his name, and after struggling to breathe, he finally whispers fuel as she pulls him into a hug. He pulls him into a tight hug and tells him his name is awesome, but his body is totally giving out on him. He won't stop shaking because he's lost way too much blood, and then his eyes twitch for a second before shutting again, and she starts freaking out, yelling his name and begging him to just open his eyes. Luke puts a hand on her shoulder and tells her she's done enough, but he can't even finish saying that the kid is... He just can't bring himself to say the chancellor steps up with a smug grin, mocking her for letting the unicorn die. Then he turns to the prince and yells that he has to step down because this whole tragedy is on him, and now the prince is dead. The unicorns aren't just going to sit back and stay quiet, so he tells the guards to haul the body straight into the city, officially trashing Eddie Fan's reputation before it. She snaps and screams at him to shut up, yelling that the unicorn is definitely not dead. The chancellor loses it and asks if this brat knows who she's messing with, but she just tells Luke to step back and guard the animals if things go bad for her. Then, out of nowhere, this crazy bright light just blasts out of her. Luke and the prince are totally stunned as the light starts glowing way bright. She's finally pulling the trigger on her sacrifice skill. This is a forbidden move that dumps her own life force straight into someone who's dying. She'd usually never touch this skill because it's way too dangerous. But right now, when he hears someone mention his dad, his eyes slowly drift open and he whispers a single word, Papa. She pulls him into a warm hug and tells him he's right, promising they're going back to his dad together as he weakly calls her his big sister. Everyone watching is totally frozen in shock before they start whispering that the unicorn actually came back to life. It's a straight-up miracle. This was a total miracle, and everyone was losing their minds because they just saw the impossible happen right in front of them. Even the chancellor is completely frozen in shock, suddenly snapping and screaming that, right as she's talking, she turns ghost white and her legs just give out. But Alexander moves like lightning to catch her before she slams into the floor. He catches her and mutters that she's seriously one reckless corrector. Everything goes pitch black, and when she finally wakes up, she's staring at a totally strange ceiling, wondering where on earth she is as she looks around. She lifts her head and freezes when she sees a bunch of animals crowded around her bed, and the second they realize she's awake, they all start screaming at once. Mel and Rin start bawling their eyes out with relief as Sylvan tells her she's been out cold for 2 whole days. They were terrified she'd never wake up, and her heart sinks as she realizes exactly why it happened. She totally blacked out from using that sacrifice skill. But right then, a maid walks in and looks super relieved to see her awake, starting to explain that right now she's inside the royal castle in Prince Alexander's private wing. And the doctor says the saintess totally pushed herself too hard, so they called him over right away to check on Mike. She stops, bows, and says sorry for the late intro, introducing herself as Mina and promising to handle everything at the castle. So after a quick thanks, she finally asks who this saintess person is. Mina blinks, totally caught off guard by the question, and says that, yeah, it's obviously her. She's totally stunned, but once she remembers saving that dying unicorn, the nickname finally clicks, and Mina explains that the whole country is already buzzing about what she did. She gasps and grips her sheets, asking if it's actually true, but then she immediately asks if the unicorn is okay, making Mina smile back. He calms her down, explaining that Prince Alexander got the best therapists for the unicorn, and since it's already healing up fast, she finally feels a massive wave of relief. She finally realizes Alexander really did help her, and she's just so hyped and relieved that he's totally safe. She stops for a second and asks Mina if she knows what happened to a guy named Barafu. This dude was straight up telling poachers to hurt Fuel, but then Mina suddenly hits a button. She puts a finger to her lips and whispers that this stays a secret because they're both exactly the same. She decides to spill some of the tea. Word on the street is that Duke Barrafield is making a fortune from illegal hunting. He's using that cash to buy off other nobles, and the squirrels are just staring at her, wondering what's up, because she's making such a terrifying face that even Sylvan looks super worried and asks if she's all right, but she just says sorry and insists she's totally fine. They notice she looks super pale and sick. Suddenly, the rabbit snuggles right up against her cheek to try and warm her up. It's totally unexpected. She feels a familiar touch and instantly breaks into a huge, real smile. The rabbit tells her she really needs to get more rest, but she argues back, saying she's already been out cold for poi. Mina smiles at the scene and says she's basically an animal whisperer, especially since not a single creature would leave her side while she was knocked out, staying there day and night. Mina just brushes it off and tells her to just call her Mina since Luna is the saintess now. So Luna gives a little nod and agrees to count on her, right before Mina mentions he must be super worried, especially since he's usually way too busy with royal work to care about anything else. But when she points to a vase and says the flowers are from the prince himself, her eyes go wide and she asks if Alex actually gave them to her. She definitely doesn't remember him being this nice. And as she stands there looking totally lost, Mina just giggles and calls her an interesting person, making her blink in shock and ask what that's even supposed to mean. Just like that, Mina spills the tea that Prince Alexander himself actually sent her flowers. Most girls would literally die for a gift like that. Every single noble girl in the kingdom is obsessed with getting the prince. Suddenly, this super clear memory hits him out of nowhere, showing him catching her and holding her right as she collapsed, but he just can't accept it. Wait, no way. She immediately shuts those thoughts down, telling herself he only helped because he had to and anyone else would have done the same. He's a prince after all. She blushes like crazy when he asks how she's doing, but Mina tells him to chill because Luna is finally awake and looks totally fine. Just then, the door swings open and Fuel walks in, totally taking over the room as he says his timing is absolutely perfect. She sticks right by his side as they walk in, and he finally says sorry, admitting he totally thought she was a poacher back in the forest. Watching her fight so hard to save that unicorn made him realize he'd totally gotten her wrong. She gives him a sweet smile and says it's all good, just happy that the whole mess is finally cleared up. Most of all, she's just glad he actually trusted her in the tie. She finally tells him they need to grab some fuel and find his dad, ASAP, because he's probably freaking out, and he gives her an answer. He tells her right away that if she's feeling up for it, they're heading to the unicorn forest tomorrow with a squad of knights, and when he asks her to tag along, he doesn't even hesitate because her power to talk to animals is a total cheat code for avoiding fights. Since unicorns are crazy strong, talking things out to get the fuel back is way better than a dangerous battle, and she's totally down for the plan. Hold up, she's taking off with a huge smile because Alex and Luke finally realize she's not lying about talking to animals. She tells Fuel they're visiting his dad tomorrow, which gets him super hyped and thankful, so she introduces him to the shocked animals and tells them all to be best friends. The animals are totally blown away by his look and those massive horns, but she's just feeling really sad that she's about to leave him behind, but she's actually super hyped for her trip to the forest tomorrow. Deep into the night, when the castle is totally silent, a tiny noise suddenly snaps Sylvie wide awake. Vane is already wide awake and looks totally freaked out, waving her over to the window to tell her something feels seriously wrong as she rushes to his side. She rushes to his side and peeks outside, her eyes going wide in total shock. Down in the shadows, the chancellor is losing it and spitting out curses. He's fuming that Alexander tried to mess with his plan, but he says it doesn't even matter because with the city gates about to be smashed open, the chancellor asks what happened to the guys who used those bloody flags to bait the unicorns, but his subordinate just tells him to chill since they got paid a ton and were kicked out of the country. He thinks this is perfect because Alexander totally messed up by hunting them, and it's honestly scary since the guards are only protecting the king, leaving the Red Knights to face those furious unicorns all by themselves. Their leader is a holy beast named Orzel, and taking him down without anyone dying is basically impossible. Alexander's big brother is already sick, so if Alexander fails this, the chancellor is 100% sure Alexander is going down, and that he's finally going to be the new king. Suddenly, the door slams wide open. Alexander walks in and asks if she's finally awake. She gasps, totally panicking as she tells him something horrible is happening. The unicorns are already speedy. He bursts in, sounding totally stressed, yelling that the unicorns are going wild and already smashing the gate. If they break through, it's game over and there's zero time. He doesn't even hesitate to say it's his job to protect the people, and he's already sent the knights out just in case. Jean totally freezes as the truth finally clicks. And as Hanek rushes past, he blurts out if Alexander is really going to fight the unicorns, since Fuel's dad might be one of them, but she tells him to shut up because Alexander can hear everything. Only it's already too late. Fuel is totally frozen and shaking, but then he suddenly bolts for the door, only for Sylvain to instantly cut him off and demand to know where he's going while Fuel just snaps at him to get out of the way. He's heading out there to try and get everyone on his side. Sylvain snaps at him and calls him a total moron, warning Fuel that he's going to be the first one to die if he keeps acting this crazy. Fuel starts to freeze up. He looks down at the ground. She's watching the whole thing, her heart beating out of her chest. If this keeps up, those gates are totally going to break. Fuel whispers her name and asks her to lead him to the group, but she instantly panics and shuts him down because it's way too dangerous. But he won't take no for an answer and tells her it's fine, because he's staying behind the castle gates and will send a signal they'll totally recognize. He knows if he can just reach his dad at the front of the pack, he can finally get everyone to chill out. She finally nods and agrees to the plan, willing to take any risk to stop the war, but just as she's about to leave, Alexander grabs her arm. She tells him she's 100% sure that once Fuel's voice reaches his family and friends outside, the whole pack will finally chill out. But Alexander just looks confused and asks if they can even hear him from inside. Once they're inside the gates, she's totally panicking and admits she has no clue. They've got no other choice, and hey, giving it a shot is way better than just sitting there. He bites his lip, thinking super hard after that crazy tense moment. After things get super intense, he finally gives in and admits she's right because even a tiny chance is better than nothing. And she finally lets out all that stress with a massive smile. Alexander whips around and tells Luke to hurry up, and he stops him right there and tells them to wait, because if they're actually doing this, he's got a way better plan. Later, she climbs to the very top of the castle gates to look down, and from way up there, she can finally hear his voice clear. Alec was totally right. The knights are already geared up for war, but if those gates suddenly smash open, they've got to shut down this riot before someone actually dies, because this whole place is as close as they can get to the castle gate. And that's when she asks. He asks Fuel if he can really pull it off, and Fuel says yeah, but then it actually happens. He's totally shaking and second-guessing himself, but Sylvain tells him they've got his back. Jane reminds him he can do it because he's her little brother, and even the rabbits start rooting for him. Fuel thanks the crew, blushing a bit as his eyes light up with fire, and he tells them they're definitely doing this. He sucks in a massive breath and lets out a roar with every single bit of energy he's got. She's watching him, her whole body totally stiff, but it's no use because the sound of the fighting is way too loud to hear what he's saying. Suddenly, a knight bursts in yelling that the holy beast Orzel is about to wreck the gate. He asks if they can finally open fire, but Alexander shuts him down right away. The messenger starts to worry, but Alexander shuts him down and says they just need to wait a bit longer, even though Fuel is totally wiped out and gasping for air. She's staring at him, totally freaking out. He's giving it everything he's got. But at this rate, nobody is ever going to hear him. What are they even supposed to? Sylvain watches her totally on edge until it finally clicks that she has to use her faith to power the fuel and give him a blessing. Her face lights up instantly as she finally triggers he uses his blessing skill, and since it buffs every single stat, even his voice gets a massive power-up. Fuel gasps and snaps to attention, asking what just happened because he's suddenly overflowing with energy. She tells him to scream the second she's done, and he just nods, letting her know he's got it. Down below, the knights are totally losing it, begging the prince to give them some orders. That gate is literally about to snap, and Alexander swears to himself, totally torn between them, before he starts fueling his power. Jill's voice blasts through the air so loud it makes Alexander stop dead. And right away, someone else yells back with the same crazy energy. Fuel realizes that's his dad's voice, and just like that, the unicorns stop right in their tracks. Alexander catches his breath and thanks Luna, telling her the entire city is safe, all because of her. He just grins and says it wasn't a solo mission, because it took everyone working together to finally stop those unicorns. Alexander smiles at that, while all the animals around her look down shyly. She tells Fuel they gotta take him back to his dad immediately, but right as she speaks, as soon as she's done, Fuel takes off at a dead sprint. He charges straight for the giant unicorn at the gates and throws himself into him. His dad leans down right away, pulling. She smiles at the reunion and whispers that it's awesome he's finally back with his dad, exactly where he's supposed to be. Fuel suddenly spins around and tells her he wants to introduce his dad properly. Then he starts praying. She brags to everyone that this is his dad, the holy beast Orzel, and starts setting him loose. She completely freezes as the truth finally hits her. That unicorn standing right there is actually the legendary holy beast, Orzel. Fuel just grins and asks if she thinks his dad is awesome. He bows his massive head and gives a super sincere apology for everything they did, thanking her from the bottom of his heart as both the unicorn king and a grateful father, and then she turns around. He turns to the prince, passing along Orzel's apology and a huge thank you for helping them get that fuel. Alexander listens close and tells her to let Orzel know they aren't actually looking for a fight. He also wants to find out why those unicorns were so mad they actually tried to storm the city. Fuel capitalization. The original says fuel's blood and harmed fuel. Is fuel a name? Yes, likely. I'll keep it as fuel. Alex realizes only a total creep like Barrafield would smear blood on the knight's banner, and suddenly it all clicks why those unicorns went on a rampage through the city. Luna's still totally confused, asking how the chancellor could even be safe if the city really got attacked. Luke tells them his real plan is actually going to look more like this. He planned to trigger a huge war between the unicorns and the knights, so they'd both end up seriously hurt. Once they were all worn out, Barrafield was going to jump in at the height, use that to snatch the throne and rule as the next king instead of Alex. Alex grits his teeth and lets out a curse, knowing he's got to find some proof fast if he's going to catch this guy. Mulvane suddenly drops his head to sniff the ground and says he knew it, so she spins around and asks him what's wrong. He calls her over and says the flag smells just like those footprints from the forest, and since the scent is getting stronger this way, he's totally sure the guy they're after is already outside the city. She tells Alex that Sylvan thinks the person who dropped off the flag is still lurking nearby. Luke's totally sure that guy is the culprit. They were probably working for Barren Fields, using Fuel's blood to bait the unicorns into trashing the city. Once they got paid, if they can actually catch this person, they'll finally have the proof to take down Barren Field. But Alex points out they don't even know what the guy looks like, so how is Luke supposed to find him? He reminds Luna she said Sylvan could smell them and asks if he can track them. But when she asks him directly, Sylvan immediately says there's no way he can do that. Of course he can. And while gritting his teeth, he growls that he'll never forgive them and is 100% going to capture them. She agrees right away and tells the crew Sylvan can totally do it. But when the prince tries to tell her to stay behind, she just points. She points her finger right at him and snaps that he better not even think about leaving her behind just because it's dangerous, especially since she's the only one who can talk to Sylvan, so she's definitely coming along. The second he finally says yes, she flashes a huge winning smirk. Alex puts Luke in charge while he's away, and Luke promises to keep the knights ready to pounce on Barren Field the second he gets the signal. Orzel pipes up and says if they're in a rush, they can all just ride on his back. Luke's jaw hits the floor as he asks if they're seriously allowed to ride him. And Alex is just as shocked because unicorns almost never even talk to humans, let alone give them a lift. Forget about letting people ride on their backs. He's literally never heard of something that crazy happening before. Orzel shrugs it off, saying these guys aren't just randoms. They're true friends who risked everything to save his son. And even though the bad guys might be long gone on their fast horses, he'll never forgive anyone who messes with his people. Her eyes are totally fired up because she's not letting them get away. And she's going to make sure everyone knows every single dirty thing Barren Field has done. We're heading into the port town of Lofersack to find the unicorn. That unicorn is absolutely zooming through the streets, its hooves barely even touching the ground while Prince A hangs on for dear life. He asks Luna if she's doing okay, and she tells him she's fine as he helps her get her balance back. She's hanging on for dear life. The prince is shocked by how fast they're moving, but she knew the Orzals were built for this. Honestly, she's not even Alex asks why they're running straight into the middle of town, but Luna explains this port is packed with ships from all over, making the sea their fastest way to vanish if things get ugly. He warns that if they actually get on a ship, even Sylvan's crazy sense of smell won't be enough to find them. She nods with a serious look, knowing that if they escape across the sea, they'll be totally out of reach, so they have to catch them right now. She freezes up the second Sylvan stops to catch a scent, announcing that he's finally found them. He points straight ahead and shouts that the bad guys are right there on that boat. The prince points out that the ship is already sailing away and there's just no way they're going to catch it in time. Orzel's eyes sharpen as he suddenly bolts forward, yelling at them to hang on tight because he doesn't want anyone falling off. Back on the ship's deck, this guy is smirking at a fat bag of coins, thinking about how he just got paid a fortune for the easiest job ever. He's already stocked up on gear and is ready to disappear into a new country to live it up with his reward. His face totally changes when the crowd starts pointing at the port and screaming about a unicorn, making his heart skip a beat. No way. Someone actually followed him all the way out here? There's just no way they tracked him this far from the capital. Suddenly, the unicorn slams right onto the ship. The whole deck shakes as people fall over in shock, and Prince Alexander jumps up to scream at the sailors to turn the boat back to shore. Everyone stops dead, whispering in total shock because they can't believe the prince would actually show up in a place like this. Luna was totally shocked that Orzel could actually clear that much distance, all thanks to his insane new power. He actually got them on the ship, and since they're still right by the shore, the boat has to turn back so Sylvain can track their every move. Alex and shit. He just strolls forward, looking totally unbothered. Luna shouts his name without thinking, but he just tells her to stay back and stick with Orzel. The guy snarls and pulls his sword, lunging at the prince while shouting that things are gonna get ugly if the ship turns back. He figures if things get messy, he'll just take down the prince and hijack the ship himself. Luna freezes up because the place is totally packed, and she knows firing a holy arrow right now would be a massive disaster. The prince warns that one wrong move could end up hurting someone totally innocent. He stays totally chill, knowing this guy is seriously underestimating him. He slashes the guy's leg in a total blur, sending him crashing to the deck with a scream. Alexander tells him to chill out though because he's not gonna see. The guy mumbles a curse and then totally snaps, screaming at his men to stop standing around and finish off the prince. Swords are flying at him from every single direction, but Alexander charges straight in to take them all on alone. A second later, they're crashing to the floor, totally out cold. Alexander looks around and thinks that's everyone, but then he spots a guy nearby shaking like crazy and tells him to grab a rope so they can tie these dudes up. Luna rushes over with her eyes sparkling, totally hyped that he just wiped out that many guys all by himself. But then she spots it. There's someone standing right behind him. The bow was pulled back, and the arrow went flying. She screams out a warning, and her body just moves on its own. She lunges forward and uses her body to shield him from the arrow. An arrow slams into her shoulder. The guys nearby tackle the shooter instantly, and she forces herself to keep going. The princess flashes a quick smile and tells Alexander she's totally fine, so he should stop looking so stressed, right as she activates her power. She triggers her healing power, the bleeding stops as the wound zips shut, and then she just bolts. She jumps when he starts screaming in her face, calling her a total idiot, and yelling that just because she can heal doesn't mean she should be so reckless. She mumbles a tiny apology, and he lets out a huge sigh, admitting her mysterious power is the real deal. But since she's the saintess who can heal literally anyone, Back at the palace, Luna is struggling to hold back a fuming Sylvain who's growling and ready to snap at the prince for letting her get hurt, while Orzel looks just as dangerous as he asks if they actually figured out which one of them was the criminal. She tells everyone to chill out, and suddenly Sylvain stops fighting, points right at the prisoner, and swears that this is definitely the guy. This guy is the criminal, so she turns to Alex right away and tells him Sylvain just called him out as the culprit. Alex steps up and coldly reveals that this is the guy who ordered the knight's flag to be drenched in unicorn blood. The guy stays dead silent and won't say a word, so Alex tries to get a reaction out of him. He tries to talk some sense into him, saying if he just cooperates, he might actually get to live. Before the guy can even think of an answer, something happens that makes him talk super fast. Orzel drops his head and points his horn right at him. In one quick move, the prince freezes and asks if he's really talking about Barrafield's assistant, and while he demands to know if he's 100% sure, Luna literally stops breathing from the shock. With this, they can finally nail Barrafield for every single thing he's done. Suddenly, a knight bursts in and tells the prince they found something totally insane hidden deep in the ship's cargo hold. We're talking unicorn horns, rare animal furs, carved fang decorations, and even a bunch of different eyes and nails. Felix looks totally creeped out as he explains they probably stuffed these animals while they were still alive just to make more cash, and Luna is absolutely shook. Luna feels totally sick and whispers that this can't be real, staring at the growling beast with eyes full of pure rage as she realizes she can't even imagine the kind of pain they went. Alex whips around and grills the sailor about checking the cargo, but the guy says they weren't allowed to touch it since it had a special permit for the Gyran royalty. Alex clenches his fist and points out that Durant is a massive importing nation, asking if they were making deals directly with the nobles there. He clenches his fist and snaps, asking how rotten these guys have to be to smuggle illegal goats just to trade them with other countries. Luna's just standing there in total shock, her eyes burning with pure fury because she can't believe this guy wiped out so many people for his own greed without even getting his hands dirty. She's never felt this way before, but she honestly can't forgive the one person she's always relied on. She tells Alex they need to get back to Eddie fast, and he agrees that the enemy never expected the unicorn to survive and help them, so they have to move now before they lose this chance as she's finally back in the capital and she's going to make him pay 10 times over for all his evil plans. Shiori was just a regular vet in Japan until a freak accident zapped her into another world as a duke's daughter named Luna Lofioreal. But there's a huge catch. Out of nowhere, the prince dumps her and kicks her straight out of the kingdom. In the beast man country of Eddie Pan, the chancellor was secretly ordering illegal hunts just to make himself rich. Before the king can even finish, the chancellor cuts him off and demands to know how long he's going to ignore the problem, shouting that if they don't get rid of that unicorn right now, he's getting super annoyed because those unicorns should have wiped out the peasants by now. And honestly, nothing is going according to his plan. The officials crowd the throne and start begging the king to listen to the chancellor, shouting that the fix is easy. They just need to wipe out every single beast. The king shouts that he refuses, asking if they're blind to the fact that the unicorns have totally lost their will to fight. The queen calmly backs up the king, saying Prince Alexander handled the riot, but Luke is officially dead. He steps forward and backs her up, saying the queen is 100% right. The chancellor gives a nasty smirk and asks where Prince Alexander is hiding, mocking him by saying he probably used the Red Knights as an excuse to run away from the unicorns. But the queen immediately snaps that she won't put up with that kind of disrespect. The chancellor just smirks and tells them that if they won't act, he'll just handle things himself. He says once he does, everyone will see who actually deserves to be the chancellor just scoffs and repeats the word, wait, totally doubting if these guys are actually for real. They aren't going to wait around for a prince who runs away when his kingdom is in trouble, because a guy like that isn't worth their time, but he still demands, now we finally have proof that Luke's report was actually legit. Their enemies are literal unicorns, holy beasts that get summoned by the smell of blood. They've got to make a move. Right then, Jean snaps upright in the maid's arms, screams that he's had enough, and lunges straight forward. He lunges at the chancellor, screaming that he's the whole reason the unicorns attacked the city in the first place. He slashes his claws right across the chancellor's face, but the guy just snarls and grabs him midair, looking totally insane as he pulls back to strike while the rabbits. A bright flash zips through the air and an arrow nails the chancellor. He's stuck completely frozen, screaming his head off to find out who did it, while Luna just stands there with her bow down, looking totally furious as she tells him he's not. The rabbits all let out a massive sigh of relief, and she whipped around instantly. He points her toward Jean to see if he's okay, and Jean tells her he's doing just fine while thanking her for the save. The chancellor gives her a total death stare, realizing she's the same girl from before, and he absolutely loses it, demanding to know why she dare shoot an arrow at him before screaming that. She snaps back that he's the one who actually deserves to die, reminding him that he's the one who said unicorns are drawn to the scent of blood. She calls him out for knowing exactly why the unicorns attacked, but the chancellor just plays dumb and acts like she's talking crazy. He tells her to stop talking trash, but she won't back down, exposing that he's the mastermind who used that fuel to lure the unicorns and attack the city. She says she knows every single secret because she actually heard it straight from the unicorns. He starts cracking up, mocking her for thinking he used a unicorn to raid the city just because the magical horse supposedly told her so. He just scoffs and reminds her that humans and beasts can't talk to each other, calling the whole thing a total scam. Alexander steps up to shield her and demands to know who the real scammer is. The king announces he's finally back. Alexander says sorry for making him wait, but then the chancellor tells him to quit joking around, saying he's seriously worried for the kingdom's future if their next king keeps acting like a total clown. Alexander doesn't even flinch, just waving his hand as he reveals this guy brought the unicorn pack to the capital after getting caught back at Lofersac. The chancellor scowls and mutters that this is all way too convenient, but he's got absolutely nothing to use against him. Out of nowhere, the guy starts screaming for Zofata, yelling that he was promised he'd be kept safe. Luke notices what's happening and asks Alexander if he's met this guy before. Lofata keeps his cool and tells them straight up he's never seen that guy before. The guy starts bawling, swearing that Zofata was the one who came up to him first and claimed she was his wife. He swore Zofata promised he'd be safe, but was this whole thing just a massive trap? He did every dirty job they asked, even attacking a baby unicorn and soaking a knife. Out of nowhere, Zofata snaps at him to shut up and confesses he was just following orders too, but then everything changes. He freezes up, His face goes totally white as he realizes what he just blurted out, and he starts stuttering while begging the chancellor for forgiveness. The chancellor throws up his hand to scream a curse, but the prince shuts him down instantly. He barks at the knights to go grab Duke Barrowfield right now. He slams the wall in total rage, screaming that there's no way they're getting caught. Grab him, because he's still the guy who's meant to be the next king of this country. The king's eyes go wide when he sees how huge and scary Orzel looks, and he tried to turn and bolt, but the knights snatched him up before he could even take a step. He's fighting to get loose, but the prince's voice snaps him right out of his pants. He reminds him that the Knights of the Red Lion have the whole place surrounded, so he's got absolutely nowhere left to run. It's game over, so why can't he just shut up and admit what he did? The chancellor starts trash-talking Luna under his breath, muttering that he's the boss of this place and will be the king soon, while Luna just whispers, "Wait, what is he even saying?" She totally loses it and screams, calling him out for hurting tons of animals, and even sacrificing the people he was supposed to protect just to help himself. What kind of person is totally unfit to wear the crown? He starts throwing a massive curse at He lunges straight for her, fighting through the dark because his plan was totally foolproof. If only she hadn't suddenly popped up out of nowhere. He makes one last dangerous, desperate move, but the prince grabs his hand instantly and mutters that he didn't think he'd actually go this far. He turns to the knights and orders them to drag the duke away right now while Luna watches the whole thing go down. She watches him walk free, totally sure they're about to expose his dirty secrets and make him pay for using animals just to get rich. Sylvain asks her if catching that creep means the whole case is finally over. She nods and gives the king and queen a polite bow, apologizing for being late. But the queen just smiles and says Luke already told them all about her, thanking her for winning over the unicorns and saving the whole country. The king tells her that thanks to her, they finally busted Barrowfield and shut down the poaching case for good. They're super thankful for her help, but she just gives a... Rin sees all those sweets and gets so hyped, she jumps right onto the table. She yells at Rin to fix her attitude since the king is right there, but Rin just whispers back asking if she really has to. The king just grins and says it's all good, realizing she actually has the power to talk to animals for real. Out of nowhere, the queen snaps at Alexander, demanding to know why he hid his girlfriend from her, and he just totally freezes up. She totally freezes and starts stuttering that she barely even knows the prince. But the queen just apologizes, saying she's never seen him trust a girl like this before and was positive he had feelings. Dean flashes a grin and asks how long she's sticking around, even offering her a suite room in the palace, but she shuts him down fast, saying she's currently busy. He's right in the middle of his adventure and is already gearing up to head out. The prince freezes and asks if she's serious, and when she says yeah, she realizes she's never actually talked to Alex about traveling before. They got off to a pretty rough start, but she was so stoked when he actually trusted her powers to heal fuel, and now Alex is always there to have her back whenever things get crazy. The king cuts her off and begs her to stay for a huge welcome party, saying if she's not in a rush, he needs just 1 week to set everything up. And she actually, she's honestly scared that if she stays one more second, even more of her secrets are going to be leaked. Her engagement was totally canceled and she got kicked out of Veterinarian, but she's desperate to keep Alex from finding out. But all she says is, okay, thank you, telling herself that 1 week is totally fine since she really wants to stay, while on the other side, Isabel gives Count Perunzel a sweet smile as he starts asking her a question. He tells her to never hesitate to ask for help since he owes her dad big time and will do whatever it takes to support her, which makes her super happy to hear. And then, she hesitates for a second, but then she finally admits that because of some lady, the Holy Beast actually cursed her, and the Count is totally shocked. Outlook is totally caught off guard and asks what she means, so she explains that she'll never be free if things stay like this, but she knows he can get anything he wants from the merchant country. Her eyes start tearing up as she looks at him, asking if there's some kind of magic item that can finally break the curse. He doesn't even blink before telling her he's totally got this, promising to start the search right away, and she's hyped because if he actually finds that tool, she'll finally... She almost laughs at the idea of bowing to Luna and dragging Geraint back, because Geraint is basically just dead weight now, and there's zero chance she's doing that. So instead, but then she remembers a wild rumor from the docks and tilts her head. She taps her head and asks if he's heard the gossip about the Saintess, and he's like, of course, since she's basically everyone's hero right now, and he heard he managed to chill out those wild unicorns in Edifalia, and even busted the poachers in Loffersack. And after she confirms he's right, she asks if he knows the Saintess is actually the girl from Veterinarian who dumped the crown prince, and the Count is so shook he can barely believe it's real. She casually confirms it and drops the news that the Saintess is trying to charm the Prince of Edifin next. Honestly, this girl is just wild. She's realized that even her own curse is totally Saint Isluna's fault, and the Count flinches in fear once again when she casually asks if he's in trouble now that the smugglers got busted, but he's totally clueless and asks what she even means. She stays totally chill and calls him out, reminding him that he's the one who gave those poachers a legal pass to sell to the rich nobles of Garant before the Saintess stepped in. She points out that his business would have been totally fine if she hadn't messed with it, and then she drops a huge warning. If the prince and the kingdom find out the Saintess is already chasing new guys right after her breakup, her perfect reputation is going to be completely ruined. Wouldn't it be wild if that actually happened? One line out. Input. The Count bursts into laughter and says that this truly is a wonderful opportunity. Output. The Count starts cracking up, shouting that he tells her that in exactly 1 week, Eddie Fan is throwing a huge welcome party for the Saintess at the castle. He thinks they should wait and tell the whole story right in front of... She's already super hyped for this, because she's dying to see the look of total shame on Luna's face. Back at the palace, Mina leads her straight to the library. This castle library is actually the biggest one in the whole capital, and since you need a special pass to get in, it's basically a ghost town. Looking at the endless rows of books, she realizes that finding just one specific thing is going to be a total nightmare. Mina tells her not to sweat it because the librarians are there to help. Then asks what she's looking for, and she says she's hunting for some super rare animal books since Mina tells her to hold up for a second, but Rin is already pointing right at one of the shelves. He points at the shelves and asks if that's actually a book, and she starts to answer him. He says it's true and mentions there are books with pictures, so Rin instantly demands to see those instead. She spots a guy chilling on a couch by the massive window with a book in his hand. And as she walks over, she wonders if he's actually the librarian. She walks right up and asks if he's just a librarian instead of an actual warrior. He asks who she is, and she totally panics, blurting out that she's a suspicious person. Realizing her mistake, she quickly pulls out the prince's permission note to explain. She tells them she's super curious about animals and asks if they have any cool picture books she can check out. He tells her to follow him, and while her friends are busy geeking out over the animal books, she notices that she finally finds the exact info she was looking for and gives him a huge thank you, but just as he's saying it was no big deal, Mina suddenly shouts out to them. He calls out that he's brought the librarian, and Mina tenses up as she turns to give Prince Julius a super respectful greeting. She stops dead in her tracks and turns around with a look of pure terror as Mina reveals this guy is actually Prince Julius, Alexander's big brother and the first prince of Edifan, and he instantly bows down to apologize for her being so rude, but the guy tells her not to sweat it since he was the one hiding his identity out of curiosity, even calling her a total beauty, just like, right on cue, Alexander starts coughing like crazy, and she immediately jumps in to see if he's okay. He tells her straight up that he's been weak and sickly since the day he was born, and then he tells her she's the one who finally exposed Barrowfield's crimes, and while he was planning to dig up even more proof of those shady sales, Mina tells him to just take it easy since the case is already closed. He says he really hopes that's true because it would be a huge weight off his shoulders, but Luna notices he's acting weird and asks what's bothering him, so he finally gives her an answer. He confirms it, saying Barrowfield actually worked for tons of kings and rich nobles from all over the world. He was actually super tight with the merchant kingdom of Garant. Their ambassador, Count Baronval, is currently chilling in the port town of Lofersack. But there's a huge worry. She's convinced she's right about that poaching ship heading to Garant, but what if the ambassador and Barrowfield are actually secretly working together with the prince? Prince starts hacking up a lung all over again. Julius admits that if his body wasn't so weak, he'd be helping Alexander way more. But Mina tells him his massive brain lets him do things no one else can, so he says hearing that makes him super happy. And then he admits it'd be awesome if Alexander finally became the crown prince after all this, so he could finally relax without any worries. With that worry gone, he doesn't have to hold back his true power anymore. He really is a massive headache for a brother. Luna sees that because he's so sickly. She realizes Julius cares way more about his brother's status than his own, which is honestly a total Alexander move. The prince looks over at Luna with a soft smile and asks if she really hates Alexander, and when she doesn't say anything, he asks if she'd be willing to just stay in the country. He tells her straight up that Alexander is going to be king, and people will always try to take him down. So even though it's a huge favor, he asks her to stay by his brother's side and keep having his back. She stops him fast to clear things up, saying she and Alexander aren't actually a couple, and he says he totally gets it since his condition makes him super sensitive to how everyone is feeling. He can tell they really trust each other, And since she's the first girl Alexander has ever let his guard down for, he asks her to finally open her heart to his brother too. She stares at him in total shock, wondering if he actually believes she's strong enough to stand by Alexander's side. The next morning, she lets out a tired yawn, and when Mina asks if she's okay, she just says she couldn't sleep because her mind was racing after everything that happened. After all the crazy stuff she heard yesterday, she couldn't even sleep, knowing that staying in this country was turning her into someone totally different. She finally figures out how to be Alexander's rock, but getting put on the spot so suddenly has her feeling totally unsure. Right as things settle down, her friends suddenly yell for her to look straight ahead. They're all hyped about how bright it's glowing, but she looks up and tells them it's just stained glass, and right then they get super hyped, saying they always see the coolest stuff when they're with her, and she just smiles back because she's having a blast too. They're all hitting the city today to check out the sights, and she's finally putting Alex out of her mind so she can actually have some fun. She finally gets to go explore. Mina says they gotta move now to see all the awesome stalls in the capital, and Luna is totally ready. Luna thinks that sounds great, and as they walk through the busy streets, she's blown away by the massive buildings and wonders what that giant one up ahead is. A guy nearby speaks up and tells her that it's all because of Edifin's guilt. She takes a closer look and realizes he's the same knight who was guarding the fuel that day, and when she tells him she remembers him, he's actually stoked and introduces himself as Ricardo. Ricardo says the Edifin Guild is where adventurers sell all the herbs and loot they find on their travels. He mentions that both the farmers and the adventurers actually use this same building as their main base. Luna remembers a book about rare healing herbs found only in Edifan, so she figures joining the guild is the perfect way to gather materials and stack up some serious cash. Mina asks if they can check out the guild for a bit, and her eyes go wide the moment she steps inside. Her eyes light up with hype as she scans the massive crowd, and even though it's super packed, she's weaving through everyone like it's totally easy. Everything looks perfect until she freezes, spotting a guy totally losing it and yelling at some kids to get away from his stuff, especially one little boy. The kid jumps in front of his sister to protect her, looking like he's about to break while she sobs into her hands, and then he suddenly snaps and demands the guy give Pio back. The man snaps in anger, grabbing the boy by the collar as if ready to strike, hissing that he doesn't know who the boy thinks he is, glaring. Luna stares him down and steps forward, telling him to knock it off right now. The guy whips around and snarls at her to shut up and mind her own business. Luna's eyes. He steps right in front of the kids and asks them what's going on in a super chill voice. The kids sobbing because Pio was their best friend, but this guy just snatched him away, and then the man lets out a mean laugh asking if they even have proof the bird is actually theirs, and Luna's. Her eyes pop when she realizes Pio is a super rare white star parakeet that rich people go crazy for. But the boy shakes his head hard, insisting they'd definitely recognize their own bird. They call him out for stealing it from their orphanage, but he just shrugs it off and mumbles that the bird has been his from the very start. It's been way too noisy lately, so he decided to sell it off, totally clueless about the orphanage. He mocks the kids, saying it's no wonder nobody wants to adopt dirty brats who call him a thief. But Luna shuts him down and asks how he could say something so messed up. The cage starts rattling like crazy as the bird starts acting up again. The guy whips around in a total rage, cursing out the bird for not shutting up. But the bird just keeps chirping back that these kids are innocent and deserve love instead of being bullied. Luna hears it, and the man tells the kids to get lost because he's got some serious business to take care of. Hannah isn't backing down at all and demands that the bird goes back to the kids right this second. She points out that Pio won't stop screaming their names, but the guy just laughs in her face, calls her an idiot, and starts questioning her. Ricardo's starting to wonder if she actually has any clue what that bird is trying to say. Cardo steps up looking totally pissed and starts chewing the guy out for having the nerve to talk trash to the Saintess Luna. Luna tells Ricardo to chill out because she's actually got the receipts to prove it, but the guy just laughs and warns her that he's tight with Count Perungle, the Durant ambassador, so she better stop playing games if she knows what's good for her. The kids are absolutely terrified, but Luna just looks back and gives them a gentle smile. He looks right at them and promises he's bringing Pio back in one piece. He yells to the bird asking if it can hear her and shouts, "Hi-yo!" Bio freezes in total shock that she can actually understand him, but Luna just tells him she needs a massive favor. Luna wants him to drop the kids' names and explain how they even know each other, but the bird starts panicking because he's never actually tried to speak human before. So the guy just laughs it off like it's a total joke, saying that even if these birds can talk, there's no way it would already know the names of kids. The bird is struggling so hard to get the words out, but it's clearly having a rough time, and the The guy is totally fuming and screams that Luna is wasting his time, demanding she get on her knees and apologize, but she doesn't budge and tells him she's got zero reasons to say sorry to a guy like him. The bird starts squawking and giving it everything it's got while Luna and the kids watch with their hearts racing, but both kids start grinning like crazy when the bird finally manages to say their names. The guy stops dead in his tracks, totally stunned and whispering to himself about what the heck is even going on. Luna grills him, asking how he can explain the fact that his own bird somehow knows the kids' names. The guy mumbles a curse and bolts for the door, but before he can even run, Ricardo cuts him off and pins him down. Sylvie blocks his path and demands to know where he thinks he's going, since they're nowhere near finished with their talk. Vane sounds totally hyped and asks if it's awesome, even though it's just a tiny thing. He gets a second to breathe, but then his ears twitch and he freezes, staring straight across the street. Luna notices he's on edge and asks what's up, so Sylvain tells her some creep is trying to sneak through the crowd. He catches their scent and knows instantly that guy is totally an accomplice. Sylvain remembers the guy muttering about selling off all his gear fast because some dude named Barrow was about to arrest him. Luna narrows his eyes because he's definitely talking about Barrowfield, which means these guys are 100% poachers. Luna turns to Mina, leaves the animals in her hands, and starts giving her the plan. She tells her to guard the kids while she goes after the runner, shouting to Ricardo that the partner slipped out the back and she's taking Sylvain to hunt him down. Luna steps out into the packed street and asks Sylvain if he can track the accomplice's trail through the massive crowd. Sylvain's nose twitches as he locks in, confidently telling everyone he knows that scent and is going to track it down right this second. A second later, his nose twitches and he shouts that he's found them in the building right in front of them. He asks Luna what the plan is, and she remembers telling Ricardo they'd only follow them. But now she's worried about what happens if they actually get away. Catching them here would be a massive help for Alex, so after a quick pause, she gives the signal for her and Sylvain to chase them down. They're about to grab him, but she pulls herself together and tells herself it's fine because Sylvain is right there and she's still got her skills. Sylvain tells her to watch out because there are 3 of them now, and it looks like this guy was just waiting to meet up with his squad. Luna hugs the wall and thinks fast, knowing one surprise hit is all she needs to win this thing. Luna pulls back her bow and lets an arrow fly, hitting 2 guys at once, and one of them starts screaming in total shock, demanding to know who's attacking them. Luna lets out a huge breath because 2 are down and only one's left, and she's totally confident her skills will finish the job. The last guy squints and realizes she's the girl from the guild, so Luna clicks her tongue and tells Sylvain to stay back since the guy might be armed as she raises. She shouts at them to shut up and stay still if they don't want to get wrecked. Realizing these guys are buddies with that poacher from before, which means they're definitely working for Ed. Just as Luna pulls her bow back to take another shot, something comes flying out of nowhere. A pouch explodes right at her feet, and in a split second, a huge cloud of powder completely blinds. She freezes with her hand on the bowstring as a cold voice whispers from behind that it's time she learned what a real threat looks like. Suddenly, a cold blade is pressed right against her neck as the guy orders her to drop her weapon and shut the dog up, asking if she really wants to get hurt. He locks eyes with Sylvain and tells him to freeze, smirking as he asks if the dog really wants this girl to die because of him. He laughs and says the dog is so well trained it's like it actually understands every word they say. It's a total shame to take her out, but she knows way too much about them, so Luna's gotta go. His chest is tightening up, and it's totally her fault for getting way too cocky after catching that poacher in the woods. But not a single one of them is getting away, because she's personally making sure they stay right there. Out of nowhere, she sinks her teeth into the hand holding the knife to her neck, and as the guy screams in pain, she yells for Sylvain to run and find Ricardo. The guy's totally fuming and screams if she's got a death wish, and then Luna stops dead in her tracks when she sees Luke standing right there, looking totally blown away by what's happening. The guy holding her captive swears because the Red Lion Knights found them, so he screams at them to stay back or the girl is toast, but then a terrifying voice cuts him off and orders him to let out. Luna recognizes him instantly, and suddenly Alex pops up looking totally furious, yelling for the guy to get his gross hands off her right now. He yells so loud the guy actually flinches and he totally loses his grip on Luna stumbles away as the guy drops to his knees, totally freaking out and begging them to spare him since he let her go. He gives the order, and his knights start rounding up every last person. Luna looks away and mumbles an apology, totally lost on what to do next since she's too scared to even look at him, thinking he's probably super mad. She tells herself she just wanted to be helpful, especially since he's been doing all the heavy lifting on the Barrowfield case while she's contributed absolutely nothing. Alex totally could have nabbed that poacher without her help, Honestly, she was just slowing him down. She's caught completely off guard when he quietly asks if she's... Suddenly, he pulls her into a tight hug, his whole body stiff with emotion. He's super worried and tells her he's just glad she's safe after that total nightmare, but Luna just completely freezes up. She totally freezes up before tearing up and whispering a quick thanks for the save. And while her guards later bow in shame for the fail, Luna realizes Alex has no idea she's the one who actually messed up by ditching her team to chase that guy solo. Alex lets the knights off the hook, but she warns that she's got to be way more careful next time. And then Luke asks, Alex checks if the guild kids are safe and confirms they're orphans, totally shocked that poachers would actually be heartless enough to target them. Hidden confirms Mina got the kids home safe, so Alex decides he's got to go meet them and asks Ricardo to tag along. He turns to Luna and invites her to tag along, leaving her totally shocked as she asks if she's even allowed to go. Alex tells her she's totally got this, reminding her that she literally just said she wanted to be useful. She's the only one who can pull this off, and honestly, she looks totally blown away. Luke admits he never thought the poachers would turn the orphanage basement into a secret hideout, but she's finally found a way to help. It looks like those guys they caught were totally lying, so the orphanage sisters had no choice but to step up and keep the kids safe. Right after they took over the church orphanage, the sisters realized 2 of the kids were totally gone, and he was completely stunned when he stumbled onto Luna in the warehouse while he was checking the place out. Luna turns to Alex and asks what the plan is, but he doesn't say a word. He just tells her to follow him and walks off. He brings her into a room where a massive egg is taking up all the space. Luke tells her it's actually a super rare white eagle dragon egg. Since it's so rare, Luna stares at the massive white eagle dragon egg, totally stunned by its beauty, since she knows these white-winged ones are almost impossible to find. She tells him they're digging through the royal library for info on the beast, but he's hoping she has some secret intel. Luna just shakes her head because even though he asked, she asks Luke why the poachers are hiding a huge dragon egg in the city when it's so hard to miss. And he explains it's a gift for Barrafield since legend says drinking dragon blood gives you insane powers. Alex looks totally grossed out, calling the guy a total clout chaser who just wanted the spotlight. He figures he was going to chug that blood just to prove he's worthy of being... Luna looks totally grossed out that someone would be so selfish, but then everyone's eyes snap to the egg as it suddenly starts to move. Alex figures it'll hatch in less than a week. The moment that white egg starts wiggling, the dragon inside is basically saying it's ready to come out. Luke realizes Alex is down to go, but Luna stops him because she felt the egg twitch and knows carrying that massive thing to the palace is basically impossible. She's determined to keep that egg safe and asks if it's cool if she stays behind. Alex calls Luna the ultimate animal expert of the squad and promises to bring her any info he finds, so she doesn't have to stress about where they're going. 6 days have passed, and that egg is literally about to pop open. She really wants to say it'll be totally fine, but since the library has 0 info on white eagle dragons, she's just as clueless as everyone else, and she whips around as Alex steps inside to ask how the egg is doing, and she's got an answer for it. She's totally honest and admits she's just assuming it's all good, so he tells her she better get some sleep too. Then, he hands her a book from his big brother, and as she spots a bookmark and wonders what's inside, she flips it open to find it's a scientist's journal, and even though it's super short, it's got the secret records of how they found and raised a baby white eagle dragon. The prince tells Luna he really hopes this helps her out, even just a tiny bit, and she thanks him for it. Alex tells her she's welcome, but she definitely needs to thank Prince Julius for this too. She says it looks like she's already met his brother and is totally waiting for what's coming next. She says it was just a total accident from her last library trip, and when he gets weirdly quiet, she asks him what's up. But he just brushes it off like it's no big deal and then says... He asks her what she thinks of his brother, and she totally freezes up. He stops for a second, totally caught off guard, but then says he seems like a super nice and smart big brother. Alex whispers that his brother isn't just smart, he's on a whole different level, knowing things since they were kids that Alex can't even wrap his head around, and he whispers that if his brother was actually healthy, he never would have fallen for those traps and would have been an amazing crown prince. The whole country would have been doing awesome, so she just grabs his hand and tells him he's totally wrong. She tells him he's a total legend of a prince, reminding him how he hunted down Barrafield and saved her and the orphanage kids from those poachers. She promises he's going to be a crown prince that nobody can ever look down on, and she says Prince Julius wants the exact same thing for him. Even though they just met, she can tell he's actually a good guy deep down, no matter how mean he sounds. He stays totally locked in on his goals and goes all out to... She tells him yes, but it's honestly breaking her heart to see him in so much pain. Out of nowhere, he just pulls her into a tight hug. She asks what's wrong, and he whispers that it's crazy how just one word from her makes him feel totally safe. Out of nowhere, he just blurts out that he's into her. She completely freezes, totally caught off guard by the confession. He begs her to stay in the country right there with him. Having her close makes him feel way stronger and more chill, but even though Alec is usually super confident, his voice is actually shaking right now. She starts thinking about all their cute little moments and just can't stop herself from smiling. Then she finally comes clean and tells him she likes him back. His eyes go wide for a second. She fell for him so hard right in that moment. Suddenly, the whole vibe is cut short when the egg starts cracking open. The white eagle bursts out of its shell, and Luna just stares at it in total shock. She whispers about how cute it is in R and then makes a super quick move. She quickly scoops him up and holds him close, gushing about how cute he is, while Alex realizes the little bird already thinks she's its mom. Luna wonders if they're acting like baby birds with their parents, which would make her the mom and Alex the dad, but Alex gets totally flustered and tells her to never say. Now she's trying to come up with the perfect name for her brand new little hatchling. Luna asks Alex if he likes Pepeo, while worrying it's a bit too basic. But the bird starts chirping and she's totally sure it's giving its approval. She gives the bird a sweet smile, says it's great to meet him, and officially names him Pepeo. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Alex tells Mina that he's trusting her to look after Luna. Mina is totally stoked to help Luna get ready for the big party, but then Pepilo lets out a little cry, and Luna can tell the poor guy is feeling pretty lonely. Alex gives the bird a quick head scratch and tells it he'll be right back, but first he's got to go handle some business at the palace. Luke's bummed he missed the big hatching moment, but he's just hyped that the little guy is healthy and already standing strong. A little ways off, Isabel gives Prince Gerald a smug smirk and asks what he thinks now. And since everything happened exactly like she said, he's absolutely fuming and starts cursing Luna out. Did she seriously ditch Farine that fast just because some other guy was waiting for her? That's totally messed up, and he can't believe she'd actually betray him for another. Isabel just laughs at how dumb this guy is, but honestly, that's exactly why he's so easy to play. She explains that everyone in this kingdom worships her as the saintess, and since she helped Alex save the whole country, he's now a total hero who's set to become the next crown prince. Grandpa Rungle thinks their friendship means she could actually become the Princess of Eddie Fan, but the prince snaps, shouting that even if he's stuck like this, she's definitely becoming royalty. The animals are just staring at the dresses and their eyes are huge with total wonder. Luna asks if she can really pick from all these dresses, and Mina tells her they're all hers because the queen ordered them specifically for her big welcome party. She says she'd totally love to wear them, and then Mina hands over that special stone she's been waiting for. She whispers about how pretty it is and is so hyped she turned Rin. The rabbit asks if she's going to wear every single dress, and they're all begging her to hurry up because they can't wait to see her, but Luna just gives them a sweet. She goes to hand Pepilo over to Mina, but the little bird just stops and looks her right in the eyes. He looks up at her with watery eyes, but Luna whispers that she's not going anywhere, and Mina points out that Papio totally thinks she's his mom. Mina says it feels lonely without Papa around, which totally shocks Luna and makes Mina turn bright red as she tries to take it back, but Sylvan just shrugs and says having a mom and dad is super important, while Jean teases that he hopes Pepilo gets to meet Alex really soon. Luna suddenly freezes with her eyes wide open, snapping at them to see if they heard her in the church, while Mina starts tripping over her words and apologizing, saying she didn't mean to spy. She only caught their conversation while dropping off a midnight snack, and Jean just smirks, saying they were being so loud that literally anyone could have heard them. The bunnies start bickering about that time Luna and Alex kissed and hugged, while Luna just stands there totally dying of embarrassment. Mina tells her to stop stressing because they're obviously perfect for each other, leaving Luna totally red-faced and hiding behind her hands. Mina flips the script and asks about her dress, mentioning Alex is a sucker for white gowns, which sends the whole squad charging toward the racks while Luna tries, and fails, to slow them down. She's stoked they're actually cool with it, but she's still got a lot to handle. She's still keeping a huge secret from the group, and if this keeps up, things are going to get messy. At this rate, she's going to get kicked out of the country, so she's got to speak up and tell them the truth. They need to find out she's actually the crown prince of Farine's ex-fiancé who got kicked out of the kingdom. She was never actually dating Gerald, and she totally lied about why her engagement fell apart. She's terrified they'll blow up if she speaks up, but she's seriously hating this. She hates keeping secrets from the person she loves, so right before the big feast kicks off, she decides to tell Alex the whole truth. Alec gives Fuel a quick pat, saying he's just glad he could tag along for the ride. Luke thinks Orzel is a no-show, and Alex explains that Luna actually told him to stay away until the gate is fixed, and the guards finally chill out. Alex stops talking when he hears some rich girls gossiping about how Luna doesn't deserve a huge feast since she's just a commoner, even if she is the saintess. She literally saved the kingdom with Prince Alexander, but everyone's whispering that she's just brainwashing him and the whole story is a lie. He whispers that she's about to make a total fool of herself trying to act all fancy at the ball, but Luke can already sense something is up. She sees Alex is about to snap and grabs his arm to hold him back. Alex totally snaps and demands to know why he's being held back, but Luke just stays chill and tells him he doesn't even need to get involved. Every eye in the room snaps toward Luna as she walks down the stairs with Sylvain right next to her. She's super nervous as they walk up the stairs, wondering if she did something wrong, but Sylvain just squeezes her hand and tells her she's the most beautiful girl there. Hearing those words makes him feel totally hyped. He tells her they gotta get moving because the whole squad is waiting on them. Her heart is pounding out of her chest as she tries to speak up, insisting they really need to talk. But before she can even open her mouth, a sharp voice suddenly shouts through the hole. Count Perungal storms into the room, shouting that Alex better not fall for their lies. Once he's safe, he turns around and screams that Luna isn't a real saintess, calling her a total fraud, a total backstabber, and the look on Alex's face was pure shock. His face goes cold as he tells the Count that without proof, he won't let anyone badmouth the woman who saved the whole kingdom. The Count swears he's for real, claiming he talked to someone who knows Luna's deepest secrets, and Alex starts questioning everything. She keeps asking who it could be, but then Sylvain catches a familiar scent, and before he can even warn her, Prince Gerald and Isabella suddenly show up, making Luna jump back in total shock. Gerald is totally fuming and screams her name, while a super confused Alex asks Luna if she actually knows the Crown Prince of Farine, and she starts to explain. Luna starts to speak, but Isabella shuts her down, yelling that Luna was Gerald's fiancée until she ditched him for Prince Alexander and ran away. Luna is totally stunned and tries to explain that she had no idea the engagement was even broken off. She didn't even meet Alex until after she left, and hearing that makes Gerald totally snap. He refuses to believe her, claiming she didn't even care about the breakup, and just left the country to meet another guy, leaving Luna completely frozen in shock as she tries to process it all. She flinches when Alex asks why she kept him in the dark, but she stands her ground and swears that every word they said is a total lie. They've got it all wrong, but she's totally stuck because she waited too long to speak up, and now everything she says just sounds like a lame excuse while he won't even look her way. Now, everyone's totally turned against her. Isabel steps up and says she's sorry, but she swears she's telling the total truth. She doesn't even get to finish her sentence before Gerald suddenly charges straight forward. He grabs her hand and yells that they're leaving right now, refusing to let someone who shamed Farine stay in another country, and he starts dragging her away while demanding she go home and confess her sins to that beast. Isabel groans in pain as he roughly twists her hand, and she screams for him to let go because she's totally over this. She's not ready to walk away, and she definitely doesn't want to say goodbye like this. She completely freezes up as a stinging slap rings out through the air. Gerald slams onto the floor, clutching his bruised face and staring up at Alex in total disbelief. He's totally shocked and furious, snapping at Alex and asking if he really just had the nerve to hit him. Alex steps up and pulls Luna to his side, telling Gerald that even if he doesn't know her whole story, he knows for a fact she's an incredibly strong and kind person. Alex calls Gerald out for making Luna cry and demands an apology, swearing that she's way too good to ever do the trashy things he's saying. He gently wipes her tears away and reassures her that everything is going to be okay. He promises he'll only ever believe her and begs her to just come clean if she's hiding something. While Luna smiles through her tears and whispers a quick, sorry, looking so relieved you can practically feel it. Gerald totally snaps, pulls his sword, and charges right at them, screaming that they better not look down on him as he threatens to take Luna by force. Before he can even get close, thick rose vines burst out and wrap around Isabel and Gerald, locking them both in place. Suddenly, a creepy glowing circle appears right under their feet, and a booming voice shouts that they just threw away their very last chance. Sylvain knows that voice anywhere. It's his dad, and Luke looks totally stunned. He looks completely shell-shocked, muttering that there's just no way this thing is actually Farine's divine beast. The second the word divine beast drops, the nobles start gossiping like crazy, with some confused because he looks totally human while others remember that these legendary creatures can actually shapeshift. The beast just stares Gerald down, making him totally lose it and start screaming every insult in the book. Gerald screams at the top of his lungs that he's Farine's crown prince and tells the beast it better know its place. He's absolutely losing it, screaming for Count Barumble to hurry up and get him out of there. Seaman stays totally calm and tells Gerald he's got it all wrong, saying he doesn't feel bad at all for looking after such a total idiot. He reminds him that the king of Farine actually took the one-shot Seaman gave him, then asks if Gerald really gets what happens when you break a promise, and if he's even ready for. Did he seriously forget that huge promise he made back then? He better start talking and explain himself. He explains that Gerald's mark would have totally vanished if he actually felt bad for what he did to Luna, and those thorny vines are only growing because of the hate and disrespect in their hearts. If they refuse to change, those thorns are staying stuck in their hearts forever. Wait, the prompt says rewrite the following line. The input is, just like that, he triggers his power and lets the thorns loose. They start to fade away as a glowing magic circle sparks to life right under their feet, and Luna's jaw drops as her mind races, wondering how he managed to pull all of this off without even breaking a sweat. It finally hits her. This is the seal of the divine beast. Elin realizes his powers are on a completely different level than anything she's ever seen before. Seaman turns his focus to Luna and asks if she's hurt. She quickly says she's totally fine, and he just gives her a smile. He cracks a tiny smile, looking super relieved to hear that. He says his crew totally crashed her party and hopes she can forgive him for the mess. Luna asks what's going to happen to them, but Seaman tells her to chill because they're still alive and he's already sent them back to Farine's temple to be locked up. He left them right there, letting humans decide their final punishment as a way to say sorry. He says he's giving Luna his blessing, but a war is about to break out. A warm glow wraps around her as he explains this blessing will keep her safe even when he's gone, though he admits he actually wanted to bring her with him from the start. But now it's totally obvious she's planning to stay in this country for good. He turns to his son and asks if he's actually gotten any stronger since they last met, but the guy just says he's sticking by Luna's side even now that her dad finally gave them his blessing. He gives his son a warm pat on the head with a proud smile, admitting he's going to be super lonely, but he's totally down to support his son's big decision. Seaman says it's time for him to head out, but he's got one last question for the Beastman Prince before he goes. He looks him straight in the eye and asks if he's actually in love with Luna. The prince grabs Luna's shoulder and promises her that his feelings are never going to change, no matter what. She saved his life, so now he's going to pay her back by protecting her forever. Damon decides to trust those words, and just like that, he vanishes into the light exactly like the other two. She sent a letter to her parents to fill them in, and their reply told her everything about the crazy stuff going down in Farine. Once Farine's king found out what his son had been up to, he handed the crown prince title to the younger brother instead. When they raided Isabel's parents' house to figure out her punishment, they found a ton of dirt showing she was working with Count Barungal on illegal poaching and using Gerald's high rank. It's honestly painful just thinking about how she got blamed and attacked for a crime she didn't even do. But now she finally has. With her crush and her most loyal friend right by her side, she's determined to hold on to this perfect moment forever. A few months later, she's carefully bandaging the animal's wound and telling her client that he'll be feeling way better soon. The client gives her a huge thank you for the help. He hands her some extra medicine and tells her to use it before bed, muttering that even though she's the crown princess now, all she really wants is to open a tiny clinic but she mentions that Luna looks totally full of life and actually happy these days. Rue and Sue brag to Jean that they're the ones who delivered the medicine this time. Jean says he already knew, but he's honestly just blown away by how huge Pepilo has. She knew white eagle dragons hit crazy growth spurts, but she didn't expect him to level up this fast, and suddenly, the door swung open. The door swings open and Fuel walks in with Luke and Alex, totally surprising Luna, who asks if he's just there to hang out. Alex claims they just bumped into him on the way, but Fuel immediately snitches and says Alex was the one who actually brought him. The thing that guarded the castle gates during the Barrafield fight is now the ultimate sign of peace in Eddie Fan. Since Orzel was the one who busted the gates, he's hanging back to protect the castle until they're fixed. Now, the unicorns can head in and out of the city whenever they feel like it, and everyone there just absolutely loves them. Alex points out how all the animals are swarming Luna again, and she explains that ever since she got Seaman's blessing, they just can't seem to leave her alone. Alex says looking at her right now reminds him of the legend of the Holy Queen, and when Luna asks, "The Holy Queen?" he tells her that's exactly who he means. He says, yeah, she was actually the wife of the first ruler and hero who built Eddie Fan thousands of years ago, Roses. And after the divine beasts left them both behind, Holy Queen Lydia was left with some seriously mysterious powers. Old legends say she's got the Phoenix's blessing just like Luna was chosen by Saman, and she thinks that's a pretty wild story. He's getting hit with major nostalgia because that Phoenix also showed up in EGK, and honestly, legendary beasts are just the coolest. Alex tells her that even the royal family today are actually their descendants. He's even swinging the same sword that the hero used to carry. His eyes totally light up, and he mentions that the phoenix bracelet Lydia used to wear is also there. Her eyes are literally glowing with hype, and man, that's exactly what gets a gamer's heart racing as she freaks out over the hero's legendary sword actually being real. He's totally stunned by her reaction and wonders if she's just a huge folklore nerd, while she mentions how much she'd love to see Lydia's bracelet for herself one day. Luke says sorry for cutting them off, but tells them they've got to get back to the palace right now. There's no way they can both just skip their own engagement party, so Alex speaks up and says he asks Luna if her parents RSVP'd to the engagement, and she says they're totally in and super hyped to travel to Eddie. He tells her that's awesome, so she's got absolutely nothing to be nervous about. Mina strolls in with a sneaky grin, announcing that a fun dress fitting is finally happening. She makes it clear that there's no way she's letting her wiggle out of it. She's about to become the crown princess, so she's got to wear some seriously fancy dresses that show everyone she's royalty now. She smiles and agrees with them, but is she actually okay with this engagement going down? Alex, Mina, and the royal family are totally cool with her, but she knows a ton of people still hate the engagement because she's not a beast man, and they think word is her weird powers are totally messing with his head, and every girl in the kingdom is salty because they feel like she just swooped in and snatched Alex away. Which totally makes sense when things reach. Back at the castle, the knights shout for Prince Alexander, and he immediately asks what's wrong when he sees how stressed they look. The knight tells him that Elsa from the Rakala Duchy is actually asking for a meeting with King Luna. Mana's wondering who Elsa actually is, especially since they didn't just kick her out on the spot. Elsa stands right in front of the king and queen with a super serious look, telling them straight up that she's totally against this. There's no way they're letting a girl without royal blood become the crown princess of Edifine. That's the end of today's video, so make sure to hit that like,